Want to create a pollinator garden? Sounds easy, right? But what about your soil? Unless you've got an acres of untouched prairie, your land, especially in the urban or suburban areas, has been compact, disturbed, or stripped of the native habitat. So where do you start? And does native even work in a modern backyard? Well, here's what I really think if you want to build a pollinator garden. Come along and I will tell you what I know. First, let's talk about what pollinators actually are. It's not just the bees. Birds, bats, butterflies, wasps, or even small animals. And of course, bees are all pollinators. They move pollen as they feed on the nectar and pollen, helping plants reproduce. There are two main kinds of pollinators. Generalists like honeybees visit a wide range of plants. Specialists like some native bee or monarch butterfly whose those larvae can only feed on the specific plant species or genus. These specialists emerge only during the short bloom of their host plant. Pollinator needs three things. First, food, from nectars and pollen. Second, shelter, for nesting, hiding from the predators and the protection from the sun. Third, water, not a birth bath but a shallow water with rocks where they won't drown. You will also want to support their full life cycle, especially for the insects like butterflies and moths. That means host plant for caterpillar and safe place for chrysalis. And the most important principle, biodiversity. A diverse garden meets the need of more pollinators across more life stages. I haven't always been a native plant gardener. My garden mixes native and non-native plants chosen for the beauty and design. But one day I was at the garden center picking out plants. A couple was nearby and the man said, "This one looks pretty." But the woman replied sharply, "That's not native." I felt a bit judged, like ouch, was I doing something wrong? Then my neighbor started restoring prairie habitat with a city grant. We talked about native plants, monarch, and the loss of pollinators due to the pesticide and the urban sprawl. She introduced me to Asclepias tuberosa butterfly weed, orange blooms. I love orange and purple, so I gave it a try. At first, I didn't care, until one day I spotted a giant caterpillar with a zebra stripes. I was freaked out, but then I realized it was a monarch caterpillar. From disgust to joy in 10 seconds flat. But the next day they were gone. I hadn't seen a chrysalis. Why? This year I paid closer attention. I found more caterpillars, but again, many of them disappear at the end of the day. I started noticing things that they prefer to hide under the daylily leaves, but not in the open in the evening. And I wondered, was it the scent of the blue spruce or the hummingbird mint that kept the monarch from laying eggs nearby? I also saw that they stayed away from exposed area. Finally, I found one chrysalis tucked beneath a daylily leaf. That's when I realized it's not just about food plant. It's also about shelter. Watching that chrysalis eventually open and seeing a butterfly emerge, it felt like a real achievement. I realized my garden isn't just for me to enjoy. It's a place that supports life, that whole cycle from egg to caterpillar and chrysalis to butterfly. It changed how I see my garden. It made it feel meaningful. So if you want to start your own pollinator garden, here is what I know. 1. Diversity. Choose many types of plants. 2. Sequential bloom. Ensure the blooms from the early spring through frost, trying to have at least 3 plants blooming at any one time. 3. Plant native plants, especially if you want to support the specialist pollinator. Hybridized variety like those with a double flowers or sometimes even with a variegated foliage can have less nectar, lower the pollen than the native plant. And here's the bonus. When you support the specialist, you're also helping the generalist too. But let's be real. Urban and suburban soil are usually compact, disturbed, and far out of the condition native plants evolved in. The textbook advice says that have at least 3 different native species blooming at any given time from early spring to frost. Sounds great in the theory, but in practice it's tough. Some natives just don't thrive in the altered urban soils. So here's my take. Don't be too strict. Instead of following the theory perfectly, focus on what works. It's okay to mix in the non-native plant as long as they thrive in your soil. Aim for the diversity, extended bloom time, and habitat support. 4. Mass planting strategy. Grouping the flower in the large cluster make them easier for the pollinator to locate. Plant them close together than the recommended spacing, like about 50 to 75% of the suggested spacing. This approach not only creates a stronger visual impact more quickly, but also provides the shelter and also helps suppress the weed. However, be cautious with the plants that are prone to get disease like fungal diseases. In those cases, it's best to provide adequate spacing to ensure a good air circulation. 5. Know your pollinators. Generalists love many flowers, but the specialists need a specific native plant that bloom when they are active. Sometimes it's just a few weeks a year. 6. Provide water. Shallow dishes with rocks work great. 7. Skip the pesticides. Even the organic ones can harm the pollinators. 8. Leave the garden messy in fall and winter. The dead stems and leaves provide the overwintering shelter for the pollinators. They also give some winter interest in your garden. If you have a lot of land, go big with natives and bloom succession. If you are urban, think small but smart. Create a visual cohesion with color and shape. It is fine to have some non-native as long as they thrive in your urban soil. There's no point of trying native plants that cannot be adapted in your urban environment. Biodiversity and sustainability are important. In the end, it's your garden. You don't need a perfect prairie. You don't need to impress your neighbors. Don't stress about what others think. Set your goal, know your purpose, and have fun with it. Because once I saw the monarch butterfly I helped raise, I realized every flower, every leaf, it's matter. If you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more garden stories. Let's grow something beautiful together. Until next time, bye!